In this video, I will have to survive 100 days on Nublar Island, the same island where the events of Jurassic Park 1 took place. And at the end of the days, I will have to face the most lethal Tyrannosaurus Rex of all time, and all this being in hardcore mode. I arrived at Isla Nublar by helicopter. We landed on the famous platform where Hammond and the others left the park after the disaster. But this time it wasn't a visit, it was a mission. My goal was to survive 100 days in hardcore mode, completely alone and without help, on an island infested with dinosaurs and with a threat loose somewhere on the map, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. If I made it to day 100, I'd have to face it. The first thing I did when I hit the ground was craft basic tools. A little stone, a little wood, and this was enough to create my first tools. I knew the first few minutes would be key to getting settled before nightfall. I walked along a dirt path, surrounded by thick vegetation. Soon, I began to see some life. But not just any life. The first dinosaurs appeared, Triceratops lying peacefully on the path. Further ahead, I saw a group of Gallimimus. From a distance, I thought they were raptors, but as I got closer, I recognized them immediately. There were even baby Gallimimus along the path, so it was clear that the dinosaurs were beginning to multiply, and as the wise Ian Malcolm once said, life finds a way. Night was falling, so I grabbed a couple of torches I found along the way, right on a wooden bridge that helped cross a river. I saw more herbivorous dinosaurs along the way, until in the distance, above the trees, I noticed some long-necked dinosaurs. Suddenly, the jungle opened up, and I discovered a vast plain full of herbivorous dinosaurs. Long-necked dinosaurs walked calmly among the trees. There were all kinds of creatures, all living together peacefully. It was such an incredible landscape that for a moment I forgot the danger this island represented. And just as quickly, the first night fell. The sky turned dark, and the roars of not-so-friendly creatures began to be heard. Luckily, I had a couple of torches with me to light the way. I kept moving, wary of the monsters from the Minecraft world that were now beginning to appear. Zombies, skeletons, and creepers. With my stone axe, I managed to defend myself from several attacks, but I knew I couldn't keep this up for much longer. I needed a safe place to spend the night. Then I found it. An old sign read, Hotel Safari, and ahead of me, a cluster of wooden cabins arranged in a circle with a pond in the center. Together it created a peaceful yet strange atmosphere, as if time had stood still. I checked cabin by cabin. Each one had chests of supplies, food, tools, a few minerals. I took everything I needed. In the end, I chose a cabin to make my main shelter. I closed the door and sat down to organize my things. Outside, distant roars could be heard, mingling with the ambient noise. It was only the first day, and I already felt like I was in a movie. The next day, thanks to the iron and supplies I found in the chests, I managed to craft an iron armor. It was something very good, because just starting, I already had a good armor. But if I intended to fight hand-to-hand against a T-Rex, I had to get something much better. On the dirt road, I found a new path, so I began to follow it, and very soon I would see the visitor center. It was totally recognizable, even from afar. I got too excited, because if I am honest, I have liked dinosaurs for a long time, and who would not want to visit this place even in a video game? I continued moving until I reached the front of the center. They had 2 Jeep Explorers with the same design as the one in the movie. I tried to get on, but it seemed it wouldn't let me. The center looked pretty cool, but some strange noises came from inside. I entered through the main door and woo! A skeleton of a T-Rex lay in the center, just like in the movie. I noticed that there were some monsters which I defeated easily, but once I defeated them, I began to hear noises of raptors. Their sounds were totally recognizable. Going up the stairs was the control room. It would be here where the engineers, thanks to their computers, controlled the park. Then I entered the visitors' dining room. It had already fallen at this point, and I still heard those noises of raptors. And persisted. I saw them. Through some metal doors, I managed to see a couple of raptors. It seemed that they were the same ones that tried to eat the children in the movie. Apparently, they were trapped in the kitchen. I did not know if I should face them or escape and leave them for another time. But I wanted to test their strength and see how dangerous they could be. I took my bow, and with the few arrows I had, I began to weaken them. Once weak, I went directly with my iron sword and managed to defeat them easily. But surely my victory was due to the fact that I had weakened them first and that they were a little bugged by the reduced space. I was lucky this time, but I wouldn't know what it would be like to face raptors in the open air. I had to be very careful because remember, I am in hardcore mode. This means that I cannot die even once. When I finished with the raptors, I noticed that I could get meat from the raptors as well as their bones. For the moment, I only took their meat to see if I could cook it and eat it. It will sound strange to have to eat raptors, but if I planned to reach day 100, I had to do what was necessary. I left the visitor center and headed to my shelter to spend the night. But I didn't expect at all that in the middle of the road, a group of raptors were sleeping. I tried to go slowly so as not to wake them up. Well, this time, there were several, and I didn't know if I could beat them all. Fortunately, I managed to pass without making any noise, so I went to my shelter to spend the night. The next day, I went out to explore the island further. There were many places I was interested in visiting. Leaving my shelter, I noticed that the raptors were still there, but they were already awake. Since there were too many of them, I decided to go another way. Soon it seemed I had found the entrance gate to the park itself, where all the enclosures were located. Taking advantage of the fact that there were pigs, chickens, cows, and everything necessary to have some food, I went to the left and found the habitat of the Dilophosaurus. You know, the one that ate the fat guy who was trying to sell the embryos, but because of the storm, he couldn't get to the boat. I tried to kill the Dilophosaurus, but it would blind me with its poison. Even so, I would manage to finish it off. Apparently, every time we kill a dinosaur, we can take advantage of its meat and bones, although I was only interested in its meat. When entering its habitat, I found an overturned car, possibly the same car that Dennis used in the movie. I was investigating the place until a second Dilophosaurus scared me and left me blind on the spot. I couldn't see anything. I tried to attack it, but it had poisoned not only my eyes, it would manage to do a lot of damage, to the point of leaving me with only half a heart to live. I was about to lose the challenge. I backed away and waited for my hearts to regenerate. And I left the place. I continued moving along the path of the route and found a new plain full of herbivorous dinosaurs. It was very beautiful to see them during the day. Some were just lying down sunbathing. I took my time to appreciate them and spend some time with them until night would fall, so it would be time to return home. So I returned the same way. The next day, I noticed that the raptors were still there, so I went around the path to continue exploring. That's how I found a strange fortress. I didn't know what it was, but I decided to go in to investigate. It was an underground fortress. When I entered, I saw too many chests, although most of them were empty, but in some there were some weapons. Now it made sense. This place was the armory, the same one where in the movie they took their shotguns to defend themselves from the raptors, but apparently they would be the only weapons they had. I had to be cautious and not waste them. They would undoubtedly help me defend myself in case of an attack. On one side of the visitor center, I found what appeared to be the velociraptor habitat, but as expected, there was a destroyed part. That would be where all the raptors would escape. And as you know, dinosaurs, even though they are all females, they would manage to procreate. I wouldn't know how many raptors would be out there. With my new weapons, I decided to confront the raptors on the road. I began approaching little by little and shooting at them from afar. I would manage to kill some, but the others immediately came for me. They were fast and even jumped to great heights. As expected, they were very lethal. Luckily, I already had a full iron armor with me. Without it, I am sure they would have finished me off instantly. After a great battle, I would manage to clear the path. And of course, I would take advantage of the raptor's meat to be able to survive the 100 days. The clashes with the raptors made me realize that even if I was armed and had decent armor, it wouldn't be enough to face the T-Rex. So I prepared some tools, some torches, and went in search of a mine. I took what was necessary so I wouldn't return until I had diamonds and whatever else was needed to be fully prepared. After a while of searching, I wouldn't find any caves, so I started mining down in search of some mines. I had finally found some minerals, especially iron and coal, but still no diamonds. I also found some gold, which was quite useful for making golden apples. After mining for a while, I heard some raptors along some underground paths. I was surprised to find there were already dinosaurs in the mines, and yes, there were some sleeping raptors. I wanted to go through without waking them up, but because of a creeper, I had to run away, and the noise would wake them up. Luckily, there was some lava that would help me keep them away, but they still managed to attack me. Some of them were burned by the lava, and when I killed them, they left me with their already cooked meat, which was quite useful for me to continue mining without stopping. I had found another raptor that I thought I had already killed, but it almost made me shit my pants when it suddenly jumped out to attack me. After a long time, I finally found what I was waiting for the most: some diamonds. I didn't stop until I found enough for a good armor. It took me several days, but I finally had a lot of diamonds. I returned to my shelter to cook the raptor meat and the minerals. But when I got home, I was extremely scared to see that a raptor had managed to get into my house, although it wasn't very difficult to defeat it. But from now on, I must be much more careful. Apparently, the raptors were smarter than I thought. Once I had diamond armor and a shield, I decided to go out and investigate the island further. Upon arriving at the island, I noticed a river, which I was very interested in exploring. I came to one of the plains where the herbivores lived. Right here, on one side, was the river. I placed my raft and began to explore the island. I found several paths, and as I explored the island, I imagined that this would have been a very fun attraction, since the river was very large and it was perfect for exploring a large part of the island. I think this happens, but up to Jurassic World. After a while, I saw a red ship in the distance, so I headed there. Indeed, it was a very large ship. Apparently, it had found the port where Dennis wanted to go to leave the dinosaur embryos. I got out of my raft to explore a little. He asked me why the ship was still there, since in the movie it was supposed to be about to leave. Maybe they never actually made it out. Well, maybe something had attacked them before leaving. I wouldn't find anything strange, so I would return by the river path. It had already gotten dark, and I shouldn't take too many risks, but suddenly in the distance, I saw something that surprised me too much. Yes, it was the Tyrannosaurus Rex, walking on the riverbank. I tried not to move. I didn't know if the theory that if I didn't move it couldn't see me would work. Even though it was working, the T-Rex passed without even noticing my presence. I wonder if he was the one to blame for the boat not being able to set sail. To tell the truth, I tried to get as close as I could to appreciate him better. But every time I turned around, I stayed still. I didn't know if he could swim. Although in the second trailer for Jurassic Rebirth, you can see a T-Rex swimming. So I didn't want to take too many risks and left the T-Rex alone. I'm glad that our first encounter was peaceful. Remember that during the day 100, I will try to beat him in a fight. For now, it was time to go home. There was still too much island to explore, so I continued walking the paths to see what else I could find. On one of the plains, I found a baby longneck, which I named Littlefoot. It was very cute, and I hoped no carnivore would devour it. I kept moving forward, getting food until I found more destroyed habitats. First, I found the baryonyx habitat. I didn't remember seeing baryonyx on this island. But oh well, surely there were several dinosaurs that canonically were on the island, but that didn't appear in the movie. Later, I was surprised to see the T-Rex again. Apparently, it was outside its habitat. I tried to approach little by little, very stealthily. I tried not to move when it was right in front of me. When it turned around, I took the opportunity to advance little by little. Once far away, I went straight to its enclosure, and there was still one of the cars from the movie, and a bathroom like the one the lawyer used to hide when he saw the Tyrannosaurus. I entered the habitat but didn't find anything interesting. There were sheep, just like in the movie. The most curious thing was seeing the overturned car. It was getting dark, so it was time to head back. Along the same path, I found the T-Rex again. I walked carefully so it couldn't see me, although I decided to give myself a little bump to test how lethal it could be. When I hit him, he immediately saw me and enraged began to follow me, although it seems that I was not of much interest to him and he stopped following me very quickly. Well, at least now I know that he is not very fast. During the way, I returned to the plain where Littlefoot was. But I noticed that this time, there were too many raptors. Apparently they were trying to hunt. I wanted to finish them off to save Littlefoot's life, but between all the raptors and the native Minecraft monsters, it was too complicated to get out alive. I decided to let the night pass to return and try again. One day I returned to the plain and all the velociraptors were still there. So one by one, I began to weaken them from a distance thanks to my weapons. I didn't want to use them too much because they had a limit of use, so sometimes I had to take my sword and face them hand to hand. Some managed to cause me damage, but I would finally manage to defeat them and save Littlefoot. I returned home, loaded with raptor meat. All these confrontations at least helped me have enough food and thus survive the days. One of the following days, while continuing to explore and discover the mysteries of Nublar, I decided to return to the raptor habitat, which was still the same as the first time I came, but this time I found a dirt path that, when I followed it, I found a new underground shelter. I wondered if it was another armory. When I entered, I noticed that it was deeper than the first one, and instantly I heard raptors. I went down carefully, and there they were. Several raptors lurking. One came to meet me and saw me. I don't know why there are so many raptors everywhere. Apparently, they were multiplying very quickly. Although it makes sense since they are one of the few predators on the island. When I looked up, I noticed a blue path and a red one. Now I knew where I was and why there were raptors. I was at the power plant, remember? Where Dr. Ely reactivated the park's energy. And if my memory serves me right, in the movie, there were some raptors right here. It was complicated, but I managed to defeat the raptors that were there. And as a reward at the end of each corridor, there were some chests with valuables like apples, a few diamonds, etc. To be honest, I'm really enjoying being able to visit specific areas we saw in the movie, even if they're full of raptors. Who cares? It's totally worth it. The days flew by, and as I reached the goal, more dinosaurs appeared all over the island, as if they were spreading further and further. One night I heard some roars outside my shelter. It was a herd of baryonyx. If you remember, the baryonyx habitat was right next to the T-Rex habitat, but there were too many of them. One of them managed to knock me down and almost killed me. Apparently they were very fast and strong. If I ever wanted to get out, I had to finish them off. So, from high above, I slowly weakened them with my weapons. I had no other option. Hand-to-hand combat against several of them would be an impossible mission. After finishing off most of them, I went for the remaining one. I weakened it a little, and then went straight for it. Fortunately, I managed to quickly kill it with my sword. I was impressed to see one of the most dangerous dinosaurs in existence so close, and I didn't know that others could come at any moment. After a couple of days, I was attacked again. This time, it was some kind of pterodactyl mixed with a dodo bird. I didn't know what they were, but I was going to try to kill them with my gun. I managed to take down some of them, but several were flying over the shelter. It was difficult to get them to hit the targets. It took me several attempts, but I finally managed to defeat them. I found all these attacks quite strange. Apparently, the carnivores were beginning to expand throughout the island. Velociraptors were no longer the only constant threat. During one of my explorations on one of the plains, I found more baryonyx. This time, it was a group that was hunting. I decided to rescue the herbivores and began to attack them from afar. However, I didn't expect them to immediately come for me at great speed. They would begin to hurt me too much, so much so that I had to take a golden apple and try to escape with an ender pearl. The pearl would help me escape briefly, but they would manage to find me. I had fallen into the small river in front of the visitor center. I thought I was safe, but the baryonyx knew how to swim. They were very enraged that I had ruined their hunt. I hid among the trees and vegetation, and little by little, I began to kill them with my weapons and my bow. But it seemed to me that some had escaped. I returned to the plain, and there were still a couple of them left. This time, I took my distance better, and without thinking, I began to shoot at them until I knocked them down. The last of them, I would decide to go directly with my sword and face him like a warrior. His attacks were very strong, but thanks to my diamond sword, I would achieve victory. Once again, I would manage to save the rest of the herbivorous dinosaurs. The time had come. I had managed to survive 100 full days on this island. I had traveled the entire island. I had found every corner and secret of Jurassic Park. I had faced the worst dinosaurs on the entire island. There was only one thing left to do: face the T-Rex. I prepared myself as best I could and left behind the shelter that had protected me all this time. So I went in search of the king of the dinosaurs. The last time I had seen him was near his habitat where he had escaped. On the way, I defeated a couple more baryonyx to warm up the engines. After a while, I reached its habitat, but it wasn't anywhere around. I kept moving until I found it. There it was, prostrate, confident that nothing and no one could defeat it. The time had come, the final battle. I approached slowly, but before that, I decided to throw down my weapon. This legendary battle deserved it. I would only face the T-Rex with my sword. I began to approach from behind without it seeing me and struck it with the first blow. It immediately got up in a rage and accidentally began to burn. The T-Rex's attacks were very strong, but apparently my diamond armor was so good that it helped me withstand its attacks. The fight was quite a spectacle, but in the end, I would manage to defeat it. I had done it. I had defeated the Tyrannosaurus Rex of Isla Nublar, and with this victory I was crowned and earned the title as the best survivor of Isla Nublar. It was a great challenge. On several occasions I was about to be defeated. I wonder how complicated it will be to survive on Isla Sorna. You already know where the fearsome Spinosaurus is. Well, for now, I have earned a well-deserved rest.